What's happening, everyone? Welcome back for another stock pick of the week. Here we're going to talk about Kirkland Lake Gold. Now, with Kirkland Lake, there's a lot to be said about this company, and I have had some personal experience that I'm going to share with you in this video. It might go a little long, and I do apologize for that, but I just want to kind of give you guys a personal experience because last year at this time, I was actually living in Kirkland Lake, and so it was an interesting experience for me, and I got to kind of see the community, see the industry, see kind of, and I didn't work for Kirkland Lake Gold, but I was able to talk to some people that did work in the mine. I was able to kind of see the mine. I was able to kind of see um, how the town relies on, well, it does rely on the mine, and how it has relied on the mine, and how the mine has consistently been able to generate good profits and good kind of gold production that has led them to be one of the leading gold producers in Canada and one of the leading gold stocks on the Canadian stock market. So let's talk about the company first, and then I will go over my personal experience with Kirkland Lake itself. So when you look at Kirkland Lake Gold, what we're going to talk about here is we're going to talk about the two different mines they have in Canada. So they have the Holt Complex in Matheson, Ontario, which is just north of Kirkland Lake, about 45 minutes to an hour north of Kirkland Lake. I did visit Matheson as well. It's a beautiful town. All of this is just beautiful community. It's about an hour from the Quebec border, and it's just a gorgeous area of northern Ontario. And obviously the mine in the Macassa mine in Kirkland Lake and the Holt Complex in Matheson are the two mines they have in Canada, and they also have a mine in Fosterville, being in the Fosterville mine in Bendigo, Australia. So those are the different mines they have. They have annual growth production of 1.3 to 1.4 million. This is in millions ounces of gold a year. So they have one of the lowest operating costs in the industry, and one of the highest returns on the capital that they have. So that, like they said, they're going for gold with quality assets. They have some of the best producing mines in Canada and in well, not so much the one in Australia, but the one in Australia is still one of the better producing ones. So it's not, but their ones in Canada have been for a while some of the best producing in Canada. So they go over their gold production here, and they go over kind of their production ramping up versus their costs reducing. So it's kind of like this, they've been increasing their production while decreasing their costs. So that's obviously a good thing you want to see in a company. And as they say here, they're highly profitable. They're cash flow generating assets with substantial growth potential. Because a lot of these mines are kind of I don't say like experimental, where it's like hit or miss, where it's like, hey, we will consistently get this much, but we can find bigger deposits, and then bam, we'll get, we have so much more, and then obviously it's going to help the company in those ways. So they have shown some pretty good increase in revenues. So from over the past few years, they've had a substantial increase from 42 million in 2016 to 132 million in 2017, respectively, from 35 cents a share up to 64 cents a share in 2017. And then in 2018, they doubled that, more than doubled that again. Well, actually, that time it was more than tripled. But this time they doubled it again to 273 million and $1.30 a share. And in 2019, they doubled it again and had 560 million earnings, 104% year over increase, and they had $2.67 a share in profits. So this is just showing, like I was saying, their increase in production, which is increasing their earnings, revenues, and is generating cash flow, which is showing you here 82% growth in cash flow year over year from 2018 to 2019. And from 2016, they went from 113 to, in 2019, they now have $463 million on hand. And this is just cash so that they can use to obviously not only cover their costs of daily production, but also of expanding their production at these mines and also into other new mining deposits that they find, or you know. So this is talking about their performances in periods from in adjusted net earnings. So basically just showing you how they've been able to grow even with, you know, everything included CAS. So after EBITDA, they're still profitable, generating substantial incomes. As I said before, they're industry leading financial strength. So their cash as of September 30th is 2020, $848 million with no debt. And this is something that, you know, some people think that debt's a good thing. Some people think that it's a bad thing. I don't know. To me, if you don't have debt, it's probably a good thing, especially if you're a company that, you know, is generating millions of dollars. Yeah, it's good to have debt because then you have people that want to lend you money. But I'm sure that if you're like, hey, I have $848 million in the bank and I have no debt, they're gonna want to lend you money. So I don't know. It's one of those things. But I think no debt is a good thing. I you know, to me it's only a positive. So they have a new acquisition as the impact of the Detour Gold acquisition. So they added $173 million in cash. They repaid Detour Gold's $98.6 million of debt. They used $30.3 million to close the hedge position, and they put $44.3 million in transaction restructuring costs. So they're talking about here how they've returned money to their capital to their shareholders. So returned $734 million to shareholders in 2020 through share repurchasing and dividends. So basically, they repurchased their stock price to drive it higher, and then give out money through dividends, so that people that work in the company that own the stock all obviously make money with the stock, but then they also make money with the dividends from the stock. So it's a win-win for everybody, for basically all involved. And you know, it's one of those things where, as I will talk about in the later section where I talk about my personal experience with Kirkland Lake, it's something that the town has relied on, the mine, for a long time, and a lot of the people there, for better or for worse, you know, the mine is the main kind of lifeblood of the town and what keeps it alive. It's funny because there's a show that Johnny Harris does, the comedian on CBC, called Still Standing. It's a great show. You should watch it if you guys get a chance. It's a wonderful show. But it goes over all these like struggling small towns in Canada and how they've kind of gone over the experience of dealing with loss of industry, or you know, some sort of economic source of you know, security that they lost, and now are struggling to survive because of it. And to me, I think a lot of times about Kirkland Lake, and I always think, man, why doesn't he ever do an episode on Kirkland Lake? But then I'm like, it's not really a struggling town, and it's and you know, the reason is because of the mine. Because if the mine wasn't there, the town, you know, it wouldn't do well. Sure, it's you know, a crossroads between North Bay and Quebec, or you know, Northern Ontario and Quebec, and a lot of people that have to go through. But it really, it's just, you would just be stopping through if it wasn't for the mine, right? And that, you know, obviously, like I said, for better or worse, it's just the way it is. But one of the things to realize is that's what the company believes in. The people that not only work for this company, but the people that are higher up in this company believe in the company, mainly because they have seen success. It's been consistently able to generate, and it, you know, obviously mining is a dangerous and hazardous and not necessarily, you know, the best working environment, but it is, you know, gold is always going to be kind of a capital generating substance, and it's always going to have value. So with gold price fluctuating, the cost and the share price of this company will fluctuate, but at the same time you're always going to kind of have at least a good hedge in many senses, simply because gold is such a valuable resource. But anyway, so they had a 50% increase in dividend announcements to 1875 to 18 cents and 75 or 1875 cents per share, effective Q4 2020. Double dividends. They doubled dividends in Q1 2020. 7 increases in total since mid 2017, saying 200 million in dividends annually following Q4 2020 increase. So they're going to be paying out $200 million in dividends annually. And it just goes to show you kind of, how since 2017 they had 1 cent per share, and now in 2020 they have 18 cents per share. In 2024, by that they'll be up to almost $1 a share basically. That's that's not a bad growth when you're talking about dividends. And this is why I said, like, the thing about dividends is that if you have a large amount of money that's basically just sitting in a bank doing nothing, why wouldn't you just invest it in a company like Kirkland Lake? And I'm not saying to invest in Kirkland Lake. All I'm saying is that why would if you're thinking about it like a storage, and you can sit and you can be able to kind of keep an eye on it and make sure that it doesn't obviously tank, and watch gold prices and understand that it's going to move relative to gold, but just in dividends alone, you're probably going to make enough money to deal with any small fluctuation in price. But if you're getting at cheap levels now, and I'll go over that in a second, you can understand where you should be targeting a lot of these stocks. And if you have a decent amount of money, you can kind of collect dividends and see where the stock goes. And if you don't like it, then get out after you collect a few dividends, or hold it for a while and maybe lower your position and just collect some dividends. But you do have some factors here, and I think for the next decade at least, you will see some decent growth in this company. And so here they talk about the Macassa. So this is the one in Kirkland Lake. They're growing to producing over 400,000 ounces of gold per year. So they're hoping by 2022 they're expected to grow gold production to over 400,000 a year at a lower unit cost by 2023. And they're talking about how they're having substantial success in exploring their mines further the South Mine Complex. They're to east and west, identifying high-grade mineralization along the amalgamated break, identified new high-grade corridor along main break near new shaft location. So in that sense, what it is finding whether there's new gold or larger gold deposits within these mines, and exploring them to decide if they can generate this new or even more revenue. If they can find larger, and where there is gold, there's probably more gold. So who knows, right? But you never know. So you kind of have to kind of keep an eye on the market, keep an eye on the news, but also, like I said, understand that they have had consistent gold production for the past few decades, and they're probably going to have that going forward, right? So it's a lot of it's just going over their gold production. Obviously it's kind of like I'm not going to act like I know any of this, because I don't really understand most of it, but what the things I understand are the main fundamental concepts of how they want to make money, where their money's coming from. They're increasing their revenues year over year. They're increasing their dividends year over year. They're showing steady growth, and that's something to you can invest in. And so they're showing their 3 mining sites in Canada: Detour Mine, the Macassa in Kirkland Lake itself, and then the Fosterville mine. This one's in Australia. So anyway, that's that for the company itself. Obviously, you can go over the financials if you want yourself. They're like I said, we talked about them earlier. They're very very good. Everything, and I want to go back to what I was saying earlier about these people that put these comments in these investing.com and kind of Yahoo Finance or wherever, YouTube. A lot of these comments, sometimes, they don't make no sense, and sometimes you shouldn't really, look at them or pay them any mind. You probably should never pay them any mind. You probably shouldn't pay me any mind. But what you can do is kind of get an idea of what other people are thinking. Like, let's just read some of these comments here. So what is the justification for the sell-off? Because as you can see here, ever since August, really, it's been kind of dipping, right? It pumped up to $75, and then it's dropped to 50. But let's look at the overall chart, right? Let's look at the overall chart from 2016. Basically, and overall, this stock, from 2017 has gone from $16 to well above 50. That's a pretty good increase in 3 years, right? So the fact that it came down to 45, 41 in March when everything dipped, and then it bounced right back up to 75, and now it's bounced back down to 50, shouldn't surprise you very much. It likes to trade around $50. That's kind of where it likes to base itself around. 50, 40, 45, 41, this area here, you're going to find some good support. You've had support, kind of forming there. You can see it for the past year. You can see it even over the past couple years. You can kind of see this area of support and resistance. It's kind of bounced below, but then it dips back above. It kind of likes to trade around this area. So we'll see. Obviously, if it dips down, breaks 40, then we're not going to be so bullish on it still. But I do think, as I've gone over with the dividends and with the kind of overall idea of what you're trying to do with a lot of these stocks, the fact that over the past few years you've had this steady growth, and now it kind of has dipped down to levels below where it wants to go. You can kind of see these support levels forming. So obviously now 75 is resistance, and 50, maybe 40 is going to be support. So if you wait to the dip, get in around 40, and wait to the pop back up, you can catch a nice rip. And if you want to just hold for the dividends, then you just get in and you can just keep adding to your position as it goes lower, if it does go lower, or you can simply get in and collect dividends and know that this thing's probably going to bounce out around 50, 40, and then go up to 70 over the next year, right? That's my prediction for it. So will I be buying it? It's very possible. I want to get in around these 50 levels. I'm going to see what it does. If it wants to dip a little bit, then maybe I'll get in below 50. If it wants to stay around these levels, I'll probably get in around here. But the idea is simple, and that's just that it's a solid company. It's solid dividends, and they've been kind of showing an increase in every quarter forever. So, there's a beautiful view of the Kirkland Lake complex, Mikasa complex. So Kirkland Lake this is a view from Kirkland Lake itself. So you're looking at the main road going into Kirkland Lake. So that's Government Road. So that would be this road here. And so when I was up here, I was working for a indoor production facility. So basically I was working up this road, and I was working way over here across the highway, through the town of Swastika and up into what is known as Matachewan. So basically to the town of Matachewan, which is about a 40 minute drive from the town of Kirkland Lake itself, going west along Government Road here and out through down towards Matachewan, which also has a mine as well. Matachewan also has a mine there. But anyway, as you come back down this road here, you'll come behind us into the town of Kirkland Lake itself. And I'm going to kind of go over my experience there, and kind of, what I thought of the town. So Kirkland Lake itself, as you see here, what we were just looking at there was a view that was from, basically the mine is like right in this area here. I don't know why it's not on this map, but the road that we just saw here was right here. So the road that we saw is this road here. So this is Chapet Hughes here. So I'd go to this post office sometimes to pick up packages when I needed to. So when I first moved into the town, I was staying at this place, the Prospectors Inn. So this was my first stay in Kirkland Lake. Now, it doesn't look that bad, and it wasn't terrible, but there was some sketchy stuff going on in this place. All I'm gonna say is there was some sketchy stuff going on in this place. So what ended up happening, and it was kind of, and my work was being real sketchy about it as well. And I'll kind of I'll go over it real quick. I don't want it to make too long, but I'll just kind of go over kind of what happened and why I ended up not staying in this hotel. So my company was paying for us to basically stay here. A lot of miners stay in this hotel. It's not a hotel. It's a motel, I should call it, or a formerly funeral home, which it was. It used to be a funeral home. Basically, these used to be separate buildings. And this middle building, this middle section was actually built and added to connect these buildings together. And this section added on. And these used to be this used to be a funeral home. So basically, this is just newly renovation. So all these rooms you see here, this is all newly built. Basically, like brand new. So these rooms are were basically just built. And yeah, look, it doesn't look too bad, but when you start looking closely, you'll start to see like our room, there was like over, like we had a kind of the opposite side. This was on the other side. But our room had like pipes sticking out of the wall. There was drywall missing. There was leaking in the one corner. There was electrical outlets that were literally just live and didn't have anything going, like wires sticking out of the wall. Like it just wasn't finished. And they would build these rooms in like a night or over a weekend, and it was ridiculous. It was crazy. And this place was sketchy from the second we walked in there, and it got sketchier the longer we stayed. So with kind of this idea that we were gonna stay there for the whole 4 months that we were gonna be up there. I was up there for 4 months last year, basically from December to the end of March. And the crazy thing was that the first time we talked to the landlord, the owner of this motel, the first interaction we had with him was basically like, yeah, hey, we're from down south. We're, because we're all from, southern Ontario. We come up and, we're all like, yeah, we're just going to grab our keys, get everything situated in our rooms and, kind of go to work the next day and, that's going to be that. And this guy right off the bat was like, oh, yeah, no, everything's going to be great. Happy to have you here. So, but we don't do keys here. Yeah, no, we're all trusting here. We're all just miners. We're all, we don't do keys. And I was like, and we just kind of looked at each other because I was up there with a bunch of coworkers, and we're just kind of like, what do you mean you don't do keys? Like we just drove like 700 kilometers, with like, I got my PlayStation, I got my computer, I got like a bunch of like stuff, probably like thousands, maybe at least $1,000 worth of stuff, my stuff that I want to like, don't want to have stolen. And these guys are like, yeah, no, we're just gonna, we leave our doors open and we trust our neighbor and blah blah blah. Well, one thing about Kirkland Lake that we already knew, and that anybody that does know Kirkland Lake will kind of already understand that there is a problem with alcohol. There's a problem with substance abuse. There's definitely a problem with drugs. It's a town that mining is rough, right? Like when you're working in the mine, it's a rough job. So a lot of miners are struggling. They're working 12-hour days, or they're coming in from out of town and they're partying, right? They're partying. So it's not necessarily the safest community. Let's just say that. Now it's a wonderful community, and I'm not trying to say anything bad about the town itself, because it's a wonderful town and the people there are some of the nicest, some of the I don't know how to describe them, but they're welcoming. And once you get to know them, once you kind of once they kind of accept you, because they will know that you're not from there immediately. The first time you step foot in a bar or into a store or into a restaurant, they're gonna know that you're not from there. And once they do know you, once they see you a couple times, and once they're like, hey, this guy actually is living in the town and is actually maybe, they start to warm up. And there's some really cool things in this town that I'll kind of touch on in a sec. But this place, the Prospectors Inn, was just downhill from the very get-go. So anyway, this guy doesn't want to give us our key. So we're like, okay, what are we going to do? So we're going to end up calling our boss saying, hey, this guy doesn't want to give us our key. He says, and we told him basically, when he was like, oh, we don't give, we're like, no, we're going to get a key. We're like, we're not staying here without a key. So then he's like, oh, okay, well, I don't have any keys available other than the one. So I'm going to make you guys a key in the morning. And this is Sunday night, so we're like, well, we gotta go to work in the morning, man. We're not gonna leave our door unlocked the whole day while we're gone at work while you get us a key, because you don't have one ready for us, which is, it doesn't make any sense. But what ended up happening was, it was like, he was like, yeah, no, I don't have an extra key. So we're like, whatever. So in our minds, we're like, okay, well, when we leave, we'll just lock the door, and then when we come back, we'll go get the key, and then everything will be good, right? So everything ended up being fine. That kind of ended up being kind of us being a little paranoid, but like this guy was being just, I don't know, like that's just so naive to believe that, like, when you're staying with miners that are coming from out of town, guys that are, like I said, working, these long shifts that are, probably, it's not the nicest job. A lot of these guys are drinking, they're doing drugs, they're doing all kinds of, they're partying. So to think that one of them wouldn't walk in your room and just grab all your stuff, or even one of the cleaning ladies, like I will get to in a second. This place was sketchy, just right from the beginning. So we started to refer to this place as the Crack Motel. So from here on forward, we will always refer to the Prospectors Inn as the Crack Motel. So the Crack Motel ends up being a big shit show. The next day, after and this is Tuesday, so Monday we got it back, we got our key, blah blah blah, everything was fine. The door was still locked. We were, wasn't bad. But the next day, and this was just setting off our alarms. The next day, we meet the cleaning lady. So the cleaning lady, at first it's fine, nothing suspicious really. Like, yeah, we're gonna come in and clean your room once a week, and we'll let us know, and what days are good, and we're like, probably the weekends, because that's when we're gonna be here. You can come in and we'll clean, and but we didn't really need it, because we're like, there's 4 of us staying in one room. We don't really have that much. We haven't got that much to do. It's a small town, and we can do our own dishes and stuff. So we're like, we don't need you really to be in here, right? But anyway, she said she was gonna come in maybe once a week and check on the stuff. And we told her only when we're going to be there. And she's like, okay, that's fine. So that's worked out. Next day, so this would be Wednesday, we get home from work, and the cleaning lady had gone through all of our rooms. And I mean, like, she went into our rooms, and get this. So we get back to the hotel, and the door is unlocked. The door is unlocked. Right? And we're like, what? I know we locked the door when we left. So there's no way that the door was unlocked when we got, there's no way it could have been unlocked when we got back. It had to have been by somebody that had a key. So obviously one of them. So the cleaning lady was the only one, or obviously the owner, right? So we go into our room, and the thing is that like there wasn't really anything taken, but there was things moved around, and like literally like no cleaning was done. So like things were just, I don't know, it was like she was scoping the place out, and the reason we say that is because like my buddy had like some, I don't know, like some edibles and some stuff that he was I don't know, some stuff that he had, and it had in a bag, and she went through his bag and it was like sitting out on the table and stuff when he got back, and there's no way like that he would have had it out, or like little things like that where like there was just kind of things that weren't adding up. So then we're like, this is just too sketchy, right? So we go and we, you know, basically tell our boss that this is just too sketchy, and these people are you know, we can't trust these people. We can't go to work and trust that these people aren't going to be going through our stuff, or, you know, because this was just like, it was just too many red flags, and got to the point where we would go to work and just not really feel safe that our stuff was going to be that. And I guess the final straw, there was one other thing that was the final straw, and that was after all this happened, I looked at our key. I started looking at our key, and we had a neighbor, because there was we ended up having 2 rooms because there was a bunch of us up there, so one right across the hall. So our other coworkers were like, hey, you got your key? Yeah, we got our key. And then I look at their key, and I'm like, hey, your key looks a lot like my key. And then I'm like, I look at it, and we put them beside each other. They're the same key. And I'm like, what the hell? And it was like one of the most generic keys, where like it was just so simple. It was basically just like one cut, and it was like, and then I'm starting to think, are all the doors in this the same key? So I go around to this entire hotel, the what is now referred to as the Crack Motel, and every single door is opened by this one key. So it's basically a master key that opens every single door in the entire place. So any single person that asks for a key has the key to every single door in the Crack Motel. So this is the reason why we decided to get the F out of the Crack Motel. And where did we go? Well, we ended up going across the street. So we packed all our stuff up in this parking lot right here, and we drove all the way across to the Comfort Inn. And the Comfort Inn became our home for the next 2 months. So I spent the next about 2 months I spent here on the other side. I was on the back side, so not that it really matters, but anyway, yeah. So we went all the way across the street to the Comfort Inn, and at the Comfort Inn, it wasn't bad. It was decent. So the Comfort Inn was basically like, wasn't very busy. There was a lot of times, you know, we were the only people there. It was pretty nice. Spent Christmas last year, not 2020, but the 2019-2020 Christmas I spent in this hotel. Obviously, well, I didn't spend it in the hotel. I came home and then I went back up. So for Christmas I was down south, but I spent the whole winter up, 2 months of December and January in this hotel. And it was quite an experience, let me tell you. Now, the town of Kirkland Lake is, you know, one of those where this road here is, like I showed you from the Kirkland Lake mine, the mine is the other way. So the mine is that way. So the picture we had, the mine is basically just around that corner on the right side. So this is Government Road that I was saying coming into town. So that's the microtel, and I stayed in that hotel as well once when I was up there just to check it out. But I'm gonna zoom out and see if I can zoom out here. I don't know how to get off a street view. Either way, I'll just go back. But anyway, so the town of Kirkland Lake itself was basically built around the mine, and this road, Government Road, is the main road. It's the main thorough road. There's not really any other roads. This one road takes you to Quebec. If you just go all the way this way for about an hour, you'll get to the Quebec border. We went to this unbelievable buffet here in Roy Noranda. Wonderful buffet. It's called it's an Asian buffet, and they have frog legs, and they are fabulous. Fabulous frog legs. So if you ever want to check it out, it's like the Hoi Vei or the um, I'm not 100%, but it's an Asian buffet in Roy Noranda. So as long as if you're in Roy Noranda, just type in Asian buffet, you'll find it. So it was really good. Frog legs are something that I had never tried before, but they were definitely a nice experience. So after we stayed in the Comfort Inn for a few months, we ended up moving and we got an apartment on McKelvey. And so we moved to this neighborhood here, and we ended up moving into I think it is this house right here. Yeah. Anyway, little person, I guess, right? Yeah, put the little person down. So yeah, so I ended up moving to this house right here. So this house right here, where this truck is. Yeah. So I stayed in this house right here for 2 months, for February and March. So right where those people are, that was my door. That was one of our doors. So this is our front door, and this is our back door. So my room was right here. So basically, this is where I was living from December, or from February to March last year, and it was quite a nice experience. Down at the Pronto store, which is just around the corner, I would go on the weekends and grab some fresh baked goods, and up here at the school, I would walk across here and go over to there used to be this before COVID. There was this family restaurant down here, and it had this amazing, and it was actually right in this place here. There's a sign right here. It was called Krabby Patties, and they had an amazing breakfast, just like homemade bacon and egg style breakfast, just phenomenal. And then I would go for a walk up here, and obviously this is summertime. When I was there, it was winter, and this was all covered in snow. But I would walk up here, and I would go to the Foodland over here, and during this time, this was all covered in snow, so there was just snow everywhere. And right here, this path here, there was actually a path up here to the street on the other side, so then you could go over to the Foodland, which is just right here, and then the Super 8, which is where my uncle and cousin stayed when they came up. And that's it. That's basically the town of Kirkland Lake, like from one end to the other, right? Like you go from Comfort Inn and Prospector Inn, where I showed you there, to Foodland, and then that's it. You go out there and Comfort 8, the Super 8, and Timmy's, and keep going, and now you're going to Quebec. You basically, if you blink, you'd miss the town, but if you stayed, you'd get to know some really cool people and some really cool places. So this one here, Give Me One takeout, wonderful, exceptional food, just phenomenal. One of the best burgers I had in a while, and just some great food. The other really, really nice place that I just ended up falling in love with was Tech to Go. So there's this old hotel, and it ends up being turned into a bar and a kind of like a little gift shop, but the food in this place is just unbelievable, and I would go here with my coworkers like almost every week. So this little hotel here, Tech to Go, it's kind of on the corner. As you're coming down from the top of this hill here, you'd look down and you'd see the sign lit up, and it would be like hotel. It's like, oh, there'd be a place to stay. If back in the day, like obviously these places are really old, so like this was back in like 1950s or something, when the mine was like just popping. And it still is, like it's still very busy, and people are still coming from all over, from Edmonton. Like I met a couple people in this bar from Edmonton, from Calgary, from Winnipeg, all coming to work in the mine, just because they had specialties and the mine was interested in them. So that was just a wonderful place that I really enjoyed. Kind of just right in this door, right little bar stool there, bam, pop your seat on. They got specials every day. Just if you're ever in this town, and I know COVID kind of screwed everything up, but for a lot of these small businesses, which is such a shame. But if you're ever in town and you have time, check it out. Another one of these places was here. My buddy Anthony lived in this house here, and he was just somebody that helped me get through that experience. And when times are tough, he was there for me, and he's a good dude. And I really missed kind of hanging out with a lot of the people here. There was a couple other people like Jesse and Matt and Brian, Kevin, just people that I hung out with at work that I really missed once I kind of left. But you can see kind of like it's just a small town vibes. Everywhere you go, it's kind of just like it's just like a little small town. You blink and you missed it. But if you took time to know the people and get to know the area and the place, it's gorgeous community, wonderful people, and man, some of these properties you can get like a house like this for $70,000. For maybe this one goes for $85,000, but like that would be the highest price you'd pay, $75,000-$85,000 for that, and you're set, and you get a decent job working where I was or working in the mine, and you're basically you're laughing. So that was my experience in Kirkland Lake, and that was my thoughts on Kirkland Lake Gold. And hope you guys enjoyed the video. Sorry, I know it probably was a little long. I do have a lot of personal experiences and stories that happened here, but those are kind of personal, and some of them, some other people that were involved in them might not enjoy me discussing them, so I won't do them unless, obviously people really want to hear it and I get permission from those people. But until then, that'll be it for today. Thanks for watching, guys, and hope you guys have a great week. Thanks for listening.